So I'll just double check on my end if it works. Okay. We are now, I think we're set. Perfect. We are now broadcasting live in central London. Welcome onto the channel, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. My name's Louis Arrington. I'm a freelance independent journalist. We're here with Peter Hunter, and he is a former diplomat and is a parliamentary candidate. So, Peter, sorry, Colonel Hunter, could you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, I am. It's very good to be here today. Thank you very much indeed for this sort of neutral interview. And I was an army officer, and then I was a British diplomat, and I worked at the United Nations in New York. And I've always been passionate about our country and politics. And I live in South London anyway, near here. And I've also run small businesses in Switzerland, so I've got an experience of economics and employing people and making sure they're happy. And also I know therefore quite a lot about the European Union and Europe generally, and also I speak a little bit of French, German and even Russian as well, so that's very, very helpful. And I decided to stand really because I think the current government has got a bit tired. I think everybody agrees that, and therefore I'm concerned about who might replace them. And I want to see that we follow the views and wishes of the man in the street, which are really quite local and things like that. So they're worried about crime, traffic, low traffic neighbourhoods. They're worried about the reopening of Hammersmith Bridge, which has been closed for a number of years. And the bill for that to be repaired has gone from £80 million up to £240 million. And everybody, like local government and the Mayor of London and the government, are all running for cover and saying they don't want to pay for the redoing of this bridge. So if there's anybody out there who'd like to make a large donation to sort out Hammersmith Bridge, we'd be very happy for them to do that. And I think also there's other important issues like green issues. So for instance, Wimbledon wants to expand a lot, and they've got a very good programme they've put forward, but also it's not very popular with local people because there's going to be 3 years of converting an old golf course into more tennis courts, more facilities, some of which will be for local people, but they don't really want 3 years of lorries thundering up and down the road. So the council, I think, have voted against that. And so this is a continuing programme and problem that people are worried about. I think you asked me, what made me want to represent Putney and the people in this area. And I think, having lived here for over 20 years, I resonate with the local issues and concerns, some of which I've mentioned. And I think, having been a diplomat, and I worked with the British ambassador in New York, I have the leadership skills and the influence to get things done, to try and help local people solve local problems, and that will translate into the wider issue of who's going to be the next government. Otherwise, I think we're going to have a Labour government with a Labour mayor and a Labour council, and so hopefully there won't be a Labour MP. There'll be me, Peter for Putney. So that's very exciting, and I hope that'll be the key feature of this interview is Peter for Putney. Although I'm told in America that Peter's a bit of a naughty word, so I apologise to anybody who's offended in the great US of A. And there are other things that people worry about, like you asked me about the National Health Service, and it's a tremendous thing, and it's a great golden star, and we don't want to interfere with that. But I think many people say that it could be more efficiently run with less managers and more people on the front line. So I'm all in favour of that, cutting the waiting lists, and we all want to try and do that. So it's not controversial. We want to put more money into the NHS, but we want to make sure that it's doing good stuff, not being spent on things, management issues which are not important. We want to support the police. We want to have more police on the streets. People are worried about having their watches stolen, shoplifting, other low crime issues with which the police are challenged to deal with because there aren't enough of them. So most parties want to have more policemen, and it's a question of how you pay for that. And that's a problem, but it's not insuperable. And we want to get traffic moving again on the streets. We've got too many low traffic neighbourhoods, networks going on. But while doing that, we also want to safeguard the pedestrian, the bicyclist, who's important, and children, to make sure they're not being, run over. Yeah. And most people don't want to talk about legal and illegal immigration, but we do, and we want to do something about that. So that's quite interesting, and is a big challenge for whichever party gets in on Thursday. But we know Peter Putney is going to get in, so that'll be great. And so the Reform Party will be helping to put things right and help the Conservatives and Labour with whatever programmes they take forward. And so that's really where we are, I think. Thank you. Yeah.
So, Colonel Hunter, it's been a pleasure to interview you today in central London, and I definitely hope to cover more of your stuff impartially in the future, but I'm just going to pull up the live chat to see if anyone here has any questions. If anyone has questions, definitely drop them down below in the live chat right now, as we are currently broadcasting. We don't have that many people on the live stream, so definitely share this live stream so we can, as we cover what the mainstream media don't show, we are authentic, impartial channel. We show everything on the ground, on the front lines. But I was going to ask Peter, basically about the personal rate of income tax. You want to raise the threshold from 13,000 to 20,000. How will Reform fund that policy?
Right. I think we would need to be the government this time round to affect that, but we will try and encourage whoever gets in to raise the threshold, as you say, from nearly 13,000 to 20,000 before you start paying income tax, and that would give every low-paid person another £1,340 a year into their pocket. And I think that's one of the important things we're trying to do. We trying not to raise all the taxes, but we do understand that all of these programs take a lot of funding, and that's been a major problem. And the big thing I would say to everybody is that you have a vote. Please don't not vote. Do use your vote. I mean, obviously you want to vote for Peter Putney, but do vote for whoever you want, because you can't complain afterwards if you didn't bother to vote and if you get the wrong person that you didn't want in.
And since the Conservatives have been basically replaced by Reform, would a vote for the Conservatives, many would say, potentially might be a wasted vote?
Well, I'm being accused of the same thing, that I'm taking votes away from the other parties, but there is a sitting MP in Putney, and she's been there for 5 years, and I've said to the people of Putney, well, look, you've got a chance of a different person this time around, because even Nigel has said that there's likely to be a significant Labour majority, and if there is, people can therefore have a choice of somebody else.
Yeah. Now, in terms of other policies such as defence and education, housing, property, where does Reform stand on these particular issues?
On defence, which of course is dear to my heart, we've said that we will support proposals to increase defence spending to 3% of GDP. And so I think that's important. I think we've all agreed we need to spend more on defence and also on recruitment. We need not to shrink our forces but to maintain them, because we see the problems going on in Eastern Europe. Education, you mentioned, is very important. I think it's wrong to charge VAT on private schools, because I think that's the policy of envy, and I don't believe that that money would automatically be put back into state education, and there will be a problem if a whole load of children come out of the private sector and go into the state sector, which would cause a problem there. I think we've said we want to recruit another 8,000 police officers for the London area alone, and that's important, and most people want to do that, and that would have to be paid for partly by getting the economy going better, and therefore having more income and reducing corporation tax.
Are you confident that your party that you're standing for will gain more than 3 seats this time round in the general election?
It's very important that we do. In particular, it's important that our leader, Nigel Farage, gets elected in Clacton. So anybody watching this from the beautiful seaside town of Clacton should make sure they're going to support us, because he is a natural leader. He has said that he will work with the Conservatives and whatever government there is to do better for everybody, and that's one of our key phrases, is do better for everybody.
Now we know also in the US, slightly going off topic, there are elections, but later on this year. Is Farage willing to also work with whoever gets elected in the US? Let's say he does become elected as an MP or beyond that.
Well, it's well known that he's good friends with former President Donald Trump, who I know as well, and it is important that Great Britain and America get on well together. So whoever becomes president in November, the United Kingdom will remain their staunchest ally, and they will remain ours, and we will work with whoever is there. I have to say the recent debate didn't show one of the candidates up very well in a good light, so I leave you, the viewer, to draw your own conclusions about that. But America remains vital, especially as we're having problems with Russia, China, and these are important issues to not ignore.
Now, in regards to Julian Assange, where does reform stand in the potential, where does reform stand with that topic of Julian Assange?
I think it's very good now that he has been released and there was a plea bargain. I think he has been prosecuted in some ways fairly by America, because what he did, most people say, was wrong, but actually, it was good to see a lot of this stuff being published, but we're now putting this behind us. It was interesting to see Australia standing up for its citizens and being a big facilitator in getting him back home, welcoming him home. And we also have to thank the Americans as well in the end, after 15 years and 5 terrible years in Belmarsh close security jail, them having a plea bargain and getting rid of this sort of lingering problem.
And is there any other topic and issue that you feel very strongly about, particularly in your constituency of Putney?
I think generally speaking, across the whole of the political spectrum, as has been said on the national news, a lot of the parties are not being very open about what they're going to do, particularly Labour, about how they're going to pay for the various things they want to do, and therefore they're saying they're not going to increase certain taxes, but they're not saying what taxes they will increase. They don't seem to have a problem for dealing with illegal migration, and therefore that's going to be a drama if they suddenly open the floodgates and let everybody come. And, we did have Brexit, we're out of Europe, but we need to have good relations with Europe. So that's an important issue that we need to go forward with as well.
Colonel Hunter, it's been a pleasure interviewing you today, as I hope you did enjoy this live broadcast of interviewing the parliamentary candidate, former diplomat for Putney. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to share the stream out there, because we only have about 10 of you guys watching. Normally we'd have like 10 times that number, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the YouTube algorithm working against us today. There might be an issue. Maybe it's because I haven't streamed in a while, but definitely go get the stream shared out there. If you enjoy, share it with your friends and family, as we cover what the mainstream media don't cover. And as my Tusi says, we are the media. Thank you once again. We'll be ending the live broadcast now, and we'll be covering all sorts of stuff throughout this week, and also in the run-up to the general election. Stay tuned and hit the bell notification button.
I'm sorry Taylor Swift didn't make it, but anyway, otherwise we might have got a few more viewers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's normally we have a lot of people on these live streams, but there might be an algorithm problem. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll have to look into it. But Colonel Hunter, it's been a pleasure today. Thank you very much indeed. So I'll be ending right now as we speak. See you all on the other end, everyone.